So now they're saying Baghdadi's dead, the leader of the so-called leader of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, which now they're calling the group known as the Islamic State. It's not the group that calls themselves the Islamic State. It's moved on to the group known as the Islamic State, and soon enough it's going to be called Islamic State. Of course, a lot of people call them Daesh, I believe Daesh, which is just like a derogatory term for the group. It means like they're like the imposters. They're not the real Islam. And the one article that points to Baghdadi had been being critically wounded was put out by the Al Arabia news channel, which is Saudi Arabia's King Faud's relatives that own that news organization. So there you go. Now, I've got another article in here on ISIS, and it talks about the strikes that are going on with the infrastructure, Syria, and it talks about how, you know, ISIS is a decoy in order to invade and you know, degrade Assad's capabilities, is what they've done. ISIS sold some of the fuel to Turkey in the black market. So we're seeing a drop in oil prices, which people have attributed to the Saudi Arabia and the Gulf Arab states releasing more oil than they're scheduled to release in order to cripple the assets of those fossil fuel assets of Russia and Venezuela. I mean, that's the main story. But I would venture to say that some of this drop in price comes from the surplus that's a result of ISIS. And it says right here that they have been selling some of this oil to Turkey in the black market. And it says, in fact, the statistic that ISIS is making $2 million a day from the sale of crude oil is an estimate from a single consulting group based in Colorado. This person seems to think that ISIS is probably doing less than that, but I would say that they may be doing more. They may be selling more than $2 million a day, and that might be the cause of the drop in the price. It says the U.S. and its media mouthpieces are now pushing the fantasy Bashar Assad as one of the buyers of ISIS oil. So they have been speaking for some time about how Assad has purchased ISIS oil, and I've reported that that was true. Whether it's true or not, we don't know for sure. It does seem like more of a fabrication now that I think about it. But you know, the idea was that, you know, this group broke up. You know, it's not really called the Islamic State. They don't run around calling themselves the Islamic State. It's a whole bunch of different groups. They're being pulled together as being the Islamic State. It's just a fancy title to give the global public relations campaign to go in and continue to clean up this area. And it speaks more about what the motives are in this article. A Qatari oil pipeline is desired both by Qatar and the U.S. The pipeline will run up from Qatar through Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, and Turkey, and from there on to the rest of Europe. Europe's currently dependent on Russia for their oil supply. And it says right here that in 2009, Assad nixed the plan for the development of the pipeline. So first he said he'd like to see the original Ismail border agreement brought back to the 1969 treaty, and he said that he doesn't want this pipeline, this particular pipeline, to run through his country in 2009. In lieu of the Qatari deal, Assad began negotiating a deal with Iran that would have seen a pipeline built across Iraq and Syria that would also provide gas to Europe. So there you have it. Saudi Prince Bandar Sultan, in a failed attempt to bribe Russia to switch sides, told Vladimir Putin that whatever regime comes after Assad, it will be completely in Saudi Arabia's hands, and when Putin refused, the prince vowed military action. Of course, we remember he did go up there during the, I think it was the Olympic Games, and threatened Putin you know, with bringing in terrorists into the Olympics. And who said anything about that? We had to hear that off RT.com. Deir Zor, or SAA, which is the Syrian army, had previously launched a major offensive against the death squads, causing ISIS fighters to be trapped by aerial bombardment and escape routes cut off by the SAA. So they had trapped, Bashar al-Assad's army had trapped ISIS in this region. And then what happened was the U.S. came and had airstrikes